So I was actually born in Berlin. It was kind of more of a drive-through. I moved from Switzerland to the United States in 2005. Lived in Switzerland, grew up there, went to elementary school there. Went then 7 years to this state school, in which I had 7 years of Latin, 6 years of French, 4 years of Italian, 4 years of English, besides German, a lot of language exposure. I was done with it, and a lot of teachers were coming out of on that year, so it was difficult to find a job. I worked 3.5 years as a proofreader for a local newspaper. Interesting job because it's linked to language, but on the other hand, you're working 8 hours a day on a job that produces a newspaper, and you realize that the very next day a lot of people are throwing their newspaper away. It was not really fulfilling on the long range. I was working with refugees on the side and I met a person there who was visually impaired, who was working with me. I got a phone call one evening. It was the Swiss National Library for the Blind and Visually Impaired, and they said they were looking for a proofreader who would proofread in Braille. I thought that would be interesting, so I decided to go and interview it. My boss was completely blind, and I had an interview with him, and I was hired. In the meantime, I had married here in Minnesota, by the way, and I married a refugee from Laos that I had met while I was traveling through the United States, visiting other refugees. I wanted to see how life in a refugee camp is, because those refugees I worked with in Switzerland were from Laos, and they were always talking about how hard it is to be in a refugee camp. I wanted to encounter that by myself. I legally entered a refugee camp and stayed there for 10 days, be exposed to their life there. 2 of those families were allowed to settle in the United States, so I visited them the year after. They were friends with my now in-laws and for a dinner, and met my wife through a dinner. And back to Switzerland, and I started writing letters, making expensive phone calls, and then proposed. Laotian families are usually very traditional. My now wife then said, "You have to propose to my parents." It's fine with me, but if my parents would not agree, I would never do something like that. So I did a proposal to my now parents-in-law, and they accepted. I came to the United States with my mom, and I married in Minnesota, and took my wife with me, and we raised 3 children. And when it came to my oldest son to finish secondary school, and now we come to that point when we start thinking about moving to the United States. When Stephen finished secondary school, he said he would like to attend a US high school. We decided, yeah, if he wants to do that. So he came all by himself as a 16-year-old to the United States, hardly knew any English, had a very tough time in science and math because all the terms were different and you have a different measurement system. We go by metric system and you don't. So he came in 2003. Because it was so tough and his grandparents could not help him very much with English because they don't speak English very well, we decided that we would give up a really nice and comfortable life in Switzerland and moved to the United States. So in 2004, my wife and the other 2 children moved to Minnesota. And I had promised my library that I worked for that I would help them to find somebody to succeed me because I had worked there more than 20 years, and I felt like it's really important that we find somebody to continue doing a good job there. And we found somebody who would replace me, and I moved then in 2005, in October 2005, to the United States. My dream was getting back into teaching, and I then realized when I arrived in Minnesota that my teaching degree from Switzerland, which is good all over Europe, I can teach in France, I can teach in Finland, I can teach in Greece, I can teach in Portugal, was no good in the state of Minnesota. So basically I would have to redo my whole teaching degree, which would take 4 years and a lot of money. And I was not willing to do that because I already had a teaching degree. So I started working in other professions, but started doing tutoring on the side, to long-term substitute teaching position at Minnesota High School. Then worked for a while for the Twin Cities German Immersion School as an education assistant, working with really difficult kids, very challenged kids that had behavior issues and also sometimes learning issues. And then started working in a pre-kindergarten program with the Germanic American Institute here in St. Paul. I became a teacher there, and I'm now teaching adults German and tutoring on the side in German, and now I'm working here. I did teach in Switzerland, and in Switzerland if you teach basically all the subjects. So you will even be teaching FIAT. You don't have an extra FIAT teacher for FIAT. You will be teaching all subjects in elementary school. That has changed slightly nowadays. Sometimes there are specialists. But one thing that I would like to tell you, when I was doing my internship as a student in my teaching, I was doing an internship in the highest all year-round elementary school of Europe. And that was a classroom with students from grade 1 to 6 in the same classroom. So you had to be really organized, because in the morning you had to give assignments to the students in first grade, and second, and third, and fourth, and fifth, and sixth grade. But it was a tough thing to do as a student, and I almost gave up teaching, because I saw that if that would be the normal thing to do, to be teaching so many different grades in one classroom at the same time, I don't know if I would be able to do that. But I sat through it, and I worked through it, and worked through it with my mentor, who was really great and tough. It has worked out then.